Up for a wild trip? Come take a ride with me, the Ghost Biker, and my guys, Dave and Chris, and escape from everyday life. This is the Furlough Podcast.
Scary music.
Friday the 13th,
Friday
guys.
the 13th.
That's right.
Everybody, welcome. We're back. It's Friday the 13th, and we have a paranormal investigator in the house, a ghost hunter.
Yes.
And that is amazing. Something like 500 more years before another night like this is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that long.
I think it
At
is.
least that's what we're going with.
That's what we're going with today.
Yeah. It's a very special night for many reasons.
Yeah, so we won't be around to argue it because if it's that long, well, you never know. With stem cell research, you never know what you might be at
Hey,
this.
paranormal investigators,
That's right.
they might
Yeah,
be talking to us.
That's right.
That's right.
And be like, I remember 500 years ago we had this show.
Yeah.
So maybe at that time we bridged the gap between the new world and maybe another world
Possibly.
that the ghosts are knocking on the door.
Yeah.
So we're happy to have you back. You were here in February, I believe it was.
Yes.
Seems like forever ago. It's only been, 6 months or something like that, but I swear it feels like it's been at least a year
Oh, years.
since you've been here.
Well, a lot has happened since then.
Tremendous amount of stuff. A lot of things happen for you. A lot of things happen for us. Everybody knows that Miranda is immortalized on our wall, and when we had this done, I think there were certain things we gave our artist a free reign, if you will, on a lot of different things. But there were certain things that we had to have, and you were one of the ones that we had to have. That was when we gave the list. It was absolutely had to be on there.
Well, thank you. It's a real honor.
Well, you have been one of our favorite shows, and you've
easily.
gotten tons and tons of chatter from the people
Awesome.
that we get from. So
Very cool.
what's been going on with you? I mean, obviously we got the new seasons and stuff coming up, but give us a little info on what's going on.
Well, when I was here last, we had filmed one episode, and we had filmed one episode of season 2, and since then we've been, busting our butt to get all of season 2 film promos. Had a ton of different podcasts and a few meet and greets.
Well, I will say I was kind of like a jealous girlfriend on all the podcasts. I was like, Jesus Christ, man, she's going to forget about us.
Not at all.
Look at all this laundry list. I was like,
No, I'm just
damn.
preparing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you all were my, I think, third podcast that I had done.
I hope that we set you up for success.
Absolutely. It was the first one that I'd ever done live. Not live, but in studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, Dave and I hit you with tons of questions on the last one. I don't know if we're going to be as hard this time. I think this will be a little bit more laid back. We were very skeptical the first time.
Yeah.
We had tons, and I still have tons of questions and a lot of chin scratching on certain things.
Well, I got hit up afterwards by everybody, and everybody was like, you should have asked this, you should have asked this. And everybody, I mean, they were really, really entertained, and they loved the show. But there were so many questions that they felt like we should have asked. And I'm going to tell you, I literally, and I don't know if you remember, I had 3 pages of notes, and I went through every single one. And I was like, geez, guys, I said, that was like a 2-hour show.
It was a 3-hour show.
Oh, 3 hours.
3-hour show.
And it was solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was like,
and
I
you
felt
were
like,
asking me questions after.
yes,
Yeah.
that's absolutely. I felt like we were really interrogating.
Yeah. So I pulled some of the questions that I have been hit with after that show that we're going to go over at some point through today's show.
Great.
So,
Well, that's how it is with investigating as well. Every time I go to a location, I'll do my homework, and then afterwards, there's always questions, always techniques, different tests and stuff I wish I would have done.
Yeah.
So every time, even if I'm there for 8 hours. Yeah.
Do you feel like you did a different techniques or different way about for the second season than you did way approach than you did the first season?
Some, yeah, we learned a lot. One of the main things we learned from the first season was to always document. When I used to be with a team, we would just kind of go in and you would set up, and I would always leave a recorder on anytime I was either getting ready to set up or taking a break, because we would get stuff even when we weren't like in a room doing experiments. But what we learned from this time is from the minute you get ready to walk in that door, Always have a recorder going. Always have the camera going, because you never know where it's going to come from. And there's nothing worse than what we would consider a personal experience that you could have actually caught on camera or recorded just because you didn't have that recorder going right when you were walking in the door. So that's the big thing that we learned from this. And we traveled further, and the investigations were longer, and that's kind of changed our whole editing process. So the shows are going to be a little bit longer this season.
That's good. Nothing wrong
Yeah,
with that.
that was actually the biggest complaint that we had, was that people wanted more.
So hell, they couldn't get into the bag of chips good enough before
Yeah.
you
I
damn
know.
cut you. I was like, yeah, because I binge watched season one in
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised that I was able to, because I was traveling that week, and I was like, well, it's a good time. I don't feel like I need to spend time with Amber, spend time with my son, or spend, it's like, I'm just going to, and I got it out pretty quick. So I think, what a lot of people don't realize too, there's no commercials, so
Right.
it doesn't stretch that time out.
Yeah.
So you're probably getting the same true content, but
You do.
you don't have distractions in between.
Yeah, we tried to keep each episode in season 1, and we're still trying to do that as much as we can in season 2, to right around 20 to 30 minutes. But that's challenging to cover, history, travel, and then also an investigation. I mean, we get a lot of stuff in these investigations.
I
We're
would
just very
imagine.
fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to get all that and cram it into 20 minutes is tough. You've got to, that's where Josh is a great editor, as far as being able to take and cut that down and still tell a story, but still get the information across. And, but then also keep people's attention span. But we've written the stories in a way to where, and picked the locations to where, if we don't get anything, we hope that we're at least still going to have enough meat with just the interesting enough story to cover the episode.
So, and that was the question I wanted to ask. There was two of them. One of them is, what I like so much about season 1 is you told a story on the front end, and you kind of laid the groundwork, and then you did the investigation. Is it kind of the same format on this one?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We found that really works with us. A lot of people have talked about they like the history aspect, and a lot of the shows on TV, they don't cover as much history.
Right.
There's a few paranormal teams that do, but most of them just want to get to that investigation. So
They want to get to the spook aspect.
yeah,
versus-
we're trying to keep that. We have gone to a couple places this year that are, or this season, that maybe are a little more commercial. But the trade-off for that is the fact that we've got, those locations have places where motorcyclists like to ride, great bike roads.
Cool.
So yeah, so it kind of works as a way to drive the tourist to these locations and get the bikers out there as well. So we're hitting a few different ones that's a little different from season 1, because season 1 we really hit the really, really small town places. We're still doing that, but there is a little bit of a change just because we have expanded so much. Like I said, we've gone further. We're in 3 different states this season.
Nice.
Yeah, Mississippi, Indiana, and Tennessee. I may have left one out, but
God, you're going as far as Mississippi. That's a little bit of a
South
drive for you.
Mississippi,
Oh
yeah.
wow, South Mississippi.
yeah.
Wow.
Get some of that antebellum stuff going on.
Oh, yeah. That'd be nice.
And that one is a local. So it doesn't have a huge story to it, but it is a local place that is not commercial, or wasn't at the time.
So, the other thing I have to ask you, and I won't make it out alive if I don't ask this question, is on season 1, everybody got a big kick at how scared Josh was a couple times. Are we going to see that again in this season?
Yeah,
He's not-
and probably tenfold.
Really?
Oh
Good.
wow,
Yeah.
Oh, it tickled me, but it was funny that people would comment that to me, and they go, "Man, even the cameraman got scared."
Well, that's what is really cool about the show. A lot of people don't think about the cameraman. They think about the person in front of the camera that's doing the investigation.
But you make him part of the show, in
I
some
do, yeah.
aspects.
Yeah, and that was really a happy accident, because it was going to be just myself, or filming it vlog style, and maybe have other paranormal investigators as guest investigators sometimes. But Josh's reaction to all this was very genuine.
Yeah.
He was just helping me out, trying to get me started.
I think it helps sell the point.
It does. It makes a more identifiable person for the audience, because most of the people, in looking at the demographics of my show, most of the people are not paranormal investigators. They may just be history buffs. It's just a fact. Most paranormal investigators don't watch other investigator shows
Well, they don't.
very often.
Well,
They're out doing it.
Yeah, they're out doing it, and they don't
Yeah.
want to be guided or misguided in any kind of way, I would
They
think.
may watch in the sense that it's an interesting location or they have a connection with that person, friend
Sure.
or whatever, but most of them don't watch it. So it really puts with him, when he would see the dowsing rods move or see the flashlights go off, you would get that instant just, oh my gosh, and so we were going to cut it, but then it's like, no, let's keep it because
Sure.
it actually it makes a good identifiable. I mean, it makes the show more identifiable, and it also it's something people just don't think about. They don't think about that. While I am there alone, and I truly am alone in some places, but while I'm there alone, there is also that camera guy who is not an investigator. He doesn't do this. He's not a thrill seeker in that respect. So this is totally out of his element. It's really cool.
So he would give a reaction like Chris or just an average
Yeah.
person.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
flashlight. What was the joke we said last time? If the flashlights go off, we're going to be in the car leaving.
Yeah, yeah. Which we still are very interested in doing an investigation with
Absolutely.
you.
I want to so bad, but
Yeah.
Well, we will do it.
yeah, I was like, God, because I was talking to some other people. They're like, "You want to do it?" I was like, "I want to do it." I'm not saying I'm a believer or a disbeliever, but if I go and the damn flashlight goes off, and I'm a pretty brave guy, but I might be hauling ass outside the house.
There's something about that when it goes off. I remember the first time that I heard voices on EVPs. To me, that is one of the most compelling. I mean, my background is in photography, so I can debunk a lot of stuff. I can explain a lot with photography.
dust or light things. Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
Good. Do you see this orb? Yeah, it looks like dust.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly. But when you're sitting there and you're the only female in the room and you get a man's voice, or you're the only adult and you get a child, it's hard to explain.
I'd almost be more creeped out about the kid.
That's
than
what I
would
was just going to say.
kid
I don't
would
know
fuck me
why
up,
that's
but
more.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
fuck me up.
Yeah.
Kids are creepy, and what's crazy about it is, I can remember sitting there. I review a lot of my evidence while I'm at work, and so if I don't have a client meeting or anything, I'll sit there with my headphones on, listening and just taking notes of everything because. I don't sit still a whole lot, and so that really gives me the opportunity to do that.
Sure.
And I remember hearing those voices. It's almost like this sickening feeling. It's like a kick in the gut, but it's a sickening but yet adrenaline feeling of there was nobody there and they answered intelligently or
Right.
they were, responded to the situation. So
Do
pretty crazy.
Do you find that now that you've got your first season out and you're obviously garnering fans and people that are interested in what you're doing, do you get the, hey, I know this place you need to go check out. Hey,
All
I
the
need
time.
you. It's like, do you write those places down just to check, just to look back?
I do. I actually do a lot of residential houses as well, and a lot of those. I film them for my purposes as far as doing the research. Some people don't want to be on TV.
Sure.
Some people want to just, or not TV, but on the web. Some people just want you to kind of confirm that they're not crazy, that maybe they're experiencing something. And I go in. I'm a skeptical believer, so I go in looking for ways to debunk.
Sure.
It could be bad wiring, causing a high, EMF field or whatever. So I do homes, but I actually really get a lot of cool stories from people because, obviously I'm not from here. And, I've always said that every town has got that story that really every town has got 8 or 10 stories
Sure.
usually. And so you guys live it and, I may not hear it. And so, we get some good episode ideas from
Well, a
people.
friend of ours talked about a town just right down the road from us, and that was when he heard your show. He was, was all about, man, you got to bring her down. There's this one spot that all this stuff goes on and stuff like that. And I'm like, I've never heard, but everybody's got a story, right?
Exactly. And I love that because it's those areas like this that people haven't heard of,
Sure.
and so it gives me the opportunity to introduce them to that area as well as areas around that, within, 20-mile radius and give some cool facts about it. And then put the story out there. It could be as small as the person that gets in your car when you drive across a bridge. She jumped off the bridge, she gets in your car whenever you drive through. It could be as small as that, or it could be as large as a nationally known story.
Yeah.
So.
Have you got any nationally known story? Like has anybody, or have you investigated or anything that you've done turned into one of those big stories, or have you really kind of stayed more towards the small stuff?
I've stayed more toward the smaller stuff now. I've been investigating for almost a decade now. I started with a team, and so I've been doing it for almost a decade. So I've hit a lot of really really big places that are nationally or internationally known. But as far as myself, I found one, the less commercial locations, they're not over investigated. So and plus, some of them have just got some of the best stories. Everyone knows about the nurse that hung herself in Waverly Hills, or the guy. Well, no, there was the pregnant lady at Sloss Furnace. These commercial places most people know about, and there's usually 3 or 4 stories to each one. But for like the Crag Miles Mausoleum that I did in episode 1, most people didn't know. And what's crazy is a lot of people in Cleveland, they knew who was in the mausoleum, but they didn't know the whole family's tragic story.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really cool to have people that's lived there all their life, that's driven past it all their life, that come in and said,
Do you think it creeped them out? It's like now they drive by, I go, fuck.
Yeah.
I wish you'd never mentioned that.
Yeah.
People, I've seen tools and little offerings that people have left there.
Really?
Yeah, well, where they'll go investigate.
But that's what makes it so interesting. Like I said, I mean, the story about the monk or the
Yes.
child, on the train tracks and all that. I mean, that's what really sucks you in because you feel like you're a little emotionally invested, And then you do your part, and it is kind of the old slap in the face after you lay the groundwork. And that's what I think really sucks people in.
Absolutely.
But when you go to people's houses, I guess the thing that I would be curious to know is if you go to someone's house, does it almost borderline on a seance? I know they call you in because I'll tell you that when I bought the home I live in now, I turned one of the bedrooms into an office, but a man actually died in that room. And I wouldn't ask you to come do it, but I could see how people would ask you to come check out their home. And I would think that an investigation could borderline on almost a seance.
That's a very good question. It really could because, especially if they have a connection to it as a loved one. I've had people that have wanted me to contact the loved one, and for me, it's more to see what I can, find out.
And you were successful? You were able to do that?
Well, there have been several cases where we've gotten compelling evidence that has been names of people, either out of thin air or on answering through the rods or some of the other tools that we've had. We did have one, and I won't go into all the details because I don't know if the lady, because it sounds weird, but there's times, people don't want. I've done some different places. One of them was a doctor's home. He didn't want it out there, that he had contacted because it was more or less he was having problems, and I don't know if he thought there would be a stigma attached to it.
Well, they'd think he was either crazy or, people get weirded out because I was talking to this one girl about coming to see tomorrow. For anybody that doesn't know, we're having a great big event tomorrow. This is coming out tonight. We've been blasting it. We're going to do a meet and greet and all that stuff. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit. But I was talking to her. I was like, are you going to come to the event? Because I've been wearing people out. And she was like, I'm not saying I don't believe in it. I'm just saying I stay the hell away from it.
Exactly. I think I saw that show.
That's right.
That tells me you believe in it.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, if there's any question, I don't want no part.
My mom's the same way. She, I have brought stuff home with me before, and there's been times I've investigated stuff in their hometown and been staying with them, and she's like, don't go bringing nothing here.
That's right.
And I'm like, if you don't believe, why are you worried
Yeah.
that
Right.
something's going to come home?
Just in case. Well, that's what I told you
Exactly.
last time. If you bring anything here, they either got to pay rent or clean house. One of the two.
To answer what you were saying, the lady that I had investigated her home, went in. I always do a preliminary investigation when I go in to ask certain questions. Like I said, I go in as a skeptical believer, checking for certain things. And what we had found at hers, she thought that it may be a loved one. He was actually still alive. He was in a coma, and she had heard he had had a heart attack. He was in a coma, and she actually resuscitated him, and so he had made a certain sound when he had collapsed, and so she heard that sound. She caught that sound on her camera.
Huh.
And so I went in. Like I said, I don't want to really, tell a lot if she doesn't want, you know.
Sure.
But I went in and tested, and she actually had she when we were researching, she had brought some stuff back from Ireland, and I just happened to get on the spirit box that I was using a guy with an Irish accent.
Come on.
Yeah, and so she had these two necklaces she had brought back from there, and we got the name James, and she researched, and now could be a coincidence, need to look into it further, but the guy who had lived in the castle that they stayed at, his name was James, and he had passed away. So
Huh.
He was pissed off. This crazy broad drugged me halfway around the world.
Yeah.
from Ireland,
From
to
Ireland,
Cleveland.
I was walking the Green Isles. I'm loving life. Now I'm in nowhere, Tennessee.
Yeah.
As I'm pissed.
Wow.
So,
That's wild.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was a pretty cool case. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do? So you take that information. I don't know if you do it, make an audio recording, and then you turn that over to them.
I do several different things. If somebody calls me into their house, first I tell them, I say, okay, you know, if you actually want me to investigate and we get to the point to where we're actually setting a recorder up, you need to be prepared. You know, we may hear and see some stuff that you may not feel comfortable. I mean, you've got to sleep here. So you need to make sure that you're okay. Because, I mean, I've put a recorder in my house before, and I got something talking to my dog.
Yeah, we discussed that last
Yeah,
time.
and so there's certain things when you lay down to sleep that you see, it's hard to unsee.
Yeah, I used to get.
So-
I always thought I got molested at night by a ghost, but I found out it was her coming in late at night.
My goodness.
She just always rub it on me. I was like, "Oh, this is wonderful." It's like a ghost is touching me, and then it's like, "Oh, it's just you." She works a late schedule,
Ah,
so I'm always well asleep. I would be easily taken advantage of in my sleep. I just say.
whatever. I think
wake
we
up
call
quick.
those succubuses.
Yeah, succubus.
Yeah, succubuses
Awesome.
and incubuses.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want
but,
to drag one of those in the house, you know.
you know, we yeah, what I will do is I'll go in and I'll make them aware of that. And then I have certain questions that I always ask, certain things as far as like, I do a lot of research on the property to see if I found anything that could be related to the land. Maybe it was either a homeowner, a previous homeowner, or Native American activity, ley lines, fault lines, different things like that, the geographic type area.
I didn't know you went that deep.
If I'm doing a house, I do.
Huh.
Yeah,
Wow.
because at that point you're dealing with someone, they've contacted you, they're either really interested and just wanting to make sure they're not crazy and just kind of experimenting,
Have you
or they're really scared.
have you ever had
Is that-
anybody that was thinking about buying some old property and they wanted it checked out before they bought it?
I think that someone had contacted, when I was on a team, I think someone had contacted us. It's been a while, but
You know, if it was, I would think that like if I came into a crap ton of money, I was going to buy some old piece of property that'd been around. You know, if it looked a little, you know, like it needed some refreshing, I might be like, well, let's get this place checked out a little bit, make sure no weird shit's going on before I dump a bunch of money into it.
yeah, and that's the thing, you know, we'll run through those questions, you know, if you're having activity, has someone used a Ouija board, has someone been involved with like black magic or kind of the obvious stuff, and then we go in and I'll go through the house looking at certain things. Like I said, sometimes it's as simple as the wiring, and just how old the house is and everything, and then we'll go in and I'll always have the recorder going. Usually have my rods do a little mini session and determine if it's worth doing a full-scale investigation.
But I guess my question is then when you do
Then
it,
what happens?
you turn over your whole findings to them. You don't incorporate that into.
If it's a good enough story and they're okay with the story being told and being on camera, then I'll either have Josh come out with me, and I'm always filming anyways because, like I said, document because you never know.
I think I know what Dave's saying. What are your deliverables? You know, what is your like
Well-
if somebody calls you out that they don't necessarily want to be
If they
on
don't
thing,
want to be
yeah.
on there,
What do you give them? What is you just
I'll
Yeah,
give
because you're
Tell
not
them.
doing it for free. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
yeah,
Yes.
I never charge.
Really.
There's not a value in one. I don't cross over spirits.
what's that famous dude that Annabelle
If any,
God, what's that guy's
Ed
name?
Warren.
Ed Warren?
Yes,
Surely he didn't do shit for free.
there's a difference. There's a difference in certain things people will do.
Oh,
There are people in the paranormal community. I won't go into any names, but there are some that will not go into a home and get rid of a spirit for any less than a couple $1,000s. I never charge to investigate. I never charge a business. I never charge,
But you're not getting rid of spirits either.
I'm not getting rid of spirits. Um, I have someone that I can call that if they want to take it to that step, they will go in.
Yeah.
But no, I don't.
I just run through the house saying, "Go away, ghost! I'm tired."
Yeah.
Or even blessing a house or anything like that.
Right.
There's certain things you don't do.
Well, since we brought up the Warren guy, and he's a famous guy, and people know and look him up, in his time, if the technology was available then as it is today, do you think he would use similar methods as far as documenting, like video, audio recordings, and stuff like that? What was he, 50s, 60s, or something like that? Was when he was
Oh, it was a long
a
time.
good while
He was,
ago, but
Maybe even in the 70s.
Actually, the guy who sat beside of me at Abnormal, Alabama, whenever I met you.
Mhm.
So that was Leon Wilkes, and he was trained under Dave Considine, who was trained by Ed Warren.
Huh.
Yeah. So, yeah, Ed Warren was a demonologist,
Right.
and that's how a true demonologist is trained by someone. And
So there was a demonologist there. I think he was the last speaker
that's
that
it.
night.
Yeah, that's Leon.
That guy.
He was trained by Dave Considine, who was trained by Ed Warren. Ed only trained a very few people, and then Dave only trained one or two folks. I don't want to say it wrong, but there was only a couple he trained. And so Leon is also not a prodigy. I'm not thinking of the right word, but
Yeah.
he's a
Protege.
Protege. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a protege.
So I didn't realize that there was almost a lineage, of you train this guy,
A
you
true
train this guy.
demonologist.
Really?
Yes, there's a lot of self-proclaimed demonologists.
And where's that
out
guy based out of? Leon.
Leon was actually out of Warner Robins, Georgia.
Really?
He's in the military, finishing up career military,
Huh.
and he is in New Mexico.
Oh,
now.
okay.
hmm
Because that guy, he brought some hardcore stories that day.
He did.
He was, you sat up and paid attention. He really, really.
He is actually who I call.
Really?
Wow.
If somebody wants to get something out, the paranormal community is an interesting community right now because there is so much competition and just so much strife really between different people.
would you say it's a small community?
It's definitely a subculture.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, and so he's one of the things is there's a lot of ego in the community,
Sure.
and so I think the mark of a good paranormal investigator is someone that can say this is above my pay grade, if you will, or
Yeah, yeah.
above my skill level. I need to be able to call someone else in because a lot of us specialize in different things,
Sure.
different techniques, and so he's someone. I mean, I don't go out looking for demons. That doesn't mean I don't find them because I've found some really weird stuff.
Right.
But he's one that I would call if someone is truly having an infestation or some type of demonic issue. He's someone that I would call in at that. I would give him my findings. And just to kind of double back, when I would say that, where you'd ask the question about findings, I will give them any video, any clipped audio that I find, and then anything else as far as experiments that I do that they can take, and I can tell them what my opinion is. And then if they want to get rid of, if it's something that's dangerous enough, or because they can be dangerous, then that's when make the decision. I will give my findings to Leon or whoever.
And Leon charges.
No,
No.
and that's part of the church, because of it being a spiritual thing. He feels like that's like he had blessed. It wasn't Saint Michael. It was I'm not Catholic, so he had the blessed. It was one of the blessed saint charms.
And he uses that to get spirits out?
Not necessarily get out, but he had that at the event, and so he wasn't charging for the coins because it's one of those things where it's like as a blessed relic, and it's the same thing with going in and getting rid of something from the house. You're dealing with spiritual matters, so it's not ethically right to charge.
If I was thinking, I would have took one, but I got there, like I said, we were doing a job in Georgia and we were
Yes.
just driving through. And so because we caught the tail end, we were fortunate enough to get the back half of your speech or whatever it was, and then we got Leon.
Yeah.
And so it was so much to take in mentally to get smacked in the face because we just walked in, it was already rolling, and we paid the full fare to get in. But it was a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But I mean, you made an impact on me. He made an impact on me. I could imagine had I been there from the beginning, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But and I'll be honest, and I don't know if I said it last time, but it was a little intimidating approaching you that first time. And I don't really get. I don't know why I was intimidated. I was like, look at this girl. So they're dealing with ghosted demons, you know. So it was a lot to take.
You had to bring a lot to the table to impress her at that moment.
Well, there was also a lot of people trying to get to you. You know, there was
right after I spoke. Yeah. It was really crazy because it was really kind of quiet, which seems to be the way it happens at a lot of the events. So, at the time, I was virtually unknown, and so people would be like, "Oh, I like the shirt you have sitting up there, or that's a cool banner, but what are you about?" And so after I spoke, then it was just sort of a bum rush at the table.
Yeah.
And you may have talked to that guy about it, or you may have experienced the same thing. But one of the things that somebody asked me when you're in that subculture, that world, and this may be more of a question towards him than you, but have you ever just walked up to somebody and just got the weird vibe or the heebie-jeebies
All the
or
time.
you know or him dealing demonology or something like that? It's like, man, something's wrong.
You know, we stayed at the same bed and breakfast, and so we had a really good conversation over breakfast that morning. And he was talking about, because he's an MP, and so he has to use psychology a lot with with being a military policeman.
Mm-hmm.
So and then also being in the military in general. So it's one of those things. He was telling me about how when he goes in, there's a lot of psychology involved, as far as like dealing with the person, because the video he showed it looked like a person being possessed, but it was a drug-induced psychosis,
Right.
is what, he was dealing with. So,
So they were really on drugs versus
the particular
particular video
that he had shown.
But if you didn't know, it's like they were possessed, you know.
I think he showed some different clips, but
Yeah.
a very dramatic one was.
Was that like that weirdo down in Miami on the bath salts that just attacked somebody like The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
And he just,
Yeah,
It's like-
sometimes it's for attention.
Sure,
You
yeah.
know, that people will do. They want you to. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had different people want me to come to their homes. You know?
Hey, just these two knuckleheads right here. Say, hey, why don't you drive X number of hours to my house?
This is different, but I'm sure she probably gets guys all the time. Hey, come to my house. It's possessed.
Check it
my
out.
house
Right.
is scary. Come check it
Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
Yeah, I bet your house is scary. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's, there's a lot of psychology involved, and there's a lot involved with it just on the investigation side.
Yeah. So who's the weird? Tell us. You don't have to say a name if you don't even know the name. Who's the weirdest cat that you've came across so far? Who's the weirdest guy? There's got to be this one
Living or dead?
living. There's got to be. You got to be I had this one weirdo that just came up to me, and I knew from moment one.
There's been several.
Oh, guys.
Well, I'm sure at your booth, you probably have anything and everything walking up to you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when people find out what you do, you get it all the time. And I'll never, if somebody needs help, turn anybody down. But, I won't, if they want to call me, I won't give my number out. I'll
Sure.
talk to them through Messenger, or I'll pass them along to somebody else. But I've had people want to do photo shoots.
Nice.
Yeah,
Like-
like
Sexy
horror movies
oh.
type.
Yeah.
Sexy horror movie photo shoots. I've had people.
I get it.
I was
Yeah.
on a movie set this other week. I don't know
yeah.
if you saw my post.
I did. I did.
Well,
Camo going on.
Yeah, the camo. I was a prison guard.
So when I said that, and maybe I used the wrong terminology, it shouldn't have been intimidated, but it was when I approached you, I was like, how do I tell this girl and not come across as a weirdo that, hey, I got a podcast. I want you to come to our home and do a podcast. I was like, I'm sure she gets hit on relentlessly,
Yeah.
So that's really what it was, because there was a line of people, and I'm sure you hear anything and everything.
Well, to me, it's an honor when someone comes up and wants, asks me to be on their show and that sort of thing. I mean, it's really cool that somebody wants to, if they're genuine, and you can really tell a lot of the time. And I could tell Dave was genuine, and so because
You didn't find him creepy as shit. I would have been like, "Look at this fucking guy."
You might need to recalibrate. Well, I was ratty. I just left the job site, and we were literally just driving through, and I thought, oh,
I've been
boy.
dealing with Bigfoot hunters all day.
Yeah.
You were fine.
Oh, good. Good.
But no, there's I just totally lost my train of thought there.
Oh.
Yeah, we've had, people come up all the time talking about wanting to be on shows or check out their house or whatever. And like I said, you can usually tell,
Yeah.
if that's the case.
So let me ask. So the very first question, hey, can you hit me one more time?
Yeah.
So the very first question I have on here is, and I'm asking this, I guess, mainly for myself.
Sure.
The thought of, I don't have it in my right ear,
All right.
is the thought of me losing my dog. Has anybody, or have you ever done some kind of investigation to talk to somebody's dog, or not to talk to their dog, but hey, I just want to hear my dog bark, or anything, any kind of animal interaction or anything?
I can't say that I've ever specifically gone and investigated.
Or have you ever heard a dog or anything like that?
Yeah.
That was dead.
Oh, I just saw that one on, not to interrupt, but before I lose my train of thought, that they had that, somebody posted one on social media where they had a baby cam set up and there was like a kid run by, ghost, and a pet right behind it. I saw it, I was like, hell is that? But you could actually, it looked pretty authentic. So I'm curious about that. How many pets do you get? I think that's a great question. How many pets that she's like, well, it's not a kid, it's a damn dog running up and down your hallway.
I mean, we've got, I want to say when I was at Hell's Bar Dam, I got a dog barking in the tunnels down there.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And there's been several different locations. And I mean, sometimes you may think, okay, and again, that's where having the video with the audio is good. But there's been places where I can't think of, again, I've not had anyone specifically that said, check for my dog or a family pet. But we have caught different things that is out of place, like there was somewhere, I think at Brushy, I got like a pig squealing or something, I may be wrong. I know there's different places that have animals that's rumored to be.
So you've never had a pet cemetery or anything like that? I'm very connected.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
I'm very connected to my dog, and the thought of him dying, it sickens me. You
Right.
know? But I would just think a pet cemetery, just out of curiosity. Of course, they're not going to speak to you, but just to see what kind of
energy or something.
Sure.
Well, I mean, it would be nothing to be in a pet cemetery and have a certain, something rub up against you in a certain way that would be an animal, or, get something what would feel like something licking your hand or whatever. That could be very common.
So that's convinced me that I'm going to be doomed for the rest of my life of having some sort of animal in my home, because Amber's animals are so far up her backside that when they pass away, I'm never getting rid of them.
Yeah.
They will always be with you.
Yeah.
We even put
Little
them on the board here behind you.
Yeah.
Two of them.
Yeah.
Well,
There's the beloved Dexter.
Yes.
yeah, the beloved Dexter, crazy ass rogue, and Amber's
possums.
potential, her want of possums.
Yeah.
So Amber's on a possum kick. So
I like it.
So let me, if we can kind of touch on season 2 a little bit.
Sure.
I know we haven't talked much about it. So Chris and I watched the trailer this afternoon, and we're going to be releasing it tonight.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I noticed in there, and you'll notice in the beginning, is there's a clip, one of the shots early on, that if you watch season 1, you're like, hey, I recognize that. So do we revisit sites from season 1, or what's going on there?
Well, I can't give a whole lot away.
And I may have spoiled something. I don't know.
No.
Right.
I think anybody watching it will see, and and that's the challenge of the trailer is not giving too much away, but still giving enough interest. There is the possibility I have had, and I've mentioned this because I did a live. I did several lives earlier this year from the specific location, and yeah, I mean it's been an open case for a year and 2 months now.
Good.
So it very well may be revisited.
A year and 2 months. Jesus, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That really is. I mean, do the people feel like they're getting something out of it, or
Well, the homeowner does not live there,
right?
and she, which I'll go ahead and say, and I hope if the viewers haven't watched, it's in season 1. It's the house on Sunset Hill,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of a accident, that one actually ended up taking up so much real estate on season 1,
Mhm.
because we just came across that home. And the homeowner, she did not live there. And several of the experiments that we did this year, we were not in there. We'd set up cameras. We were trying different things as far as setting up cameras and leaving recorded questions. And we left recorded questions from the homeowner because she had some connections with one of the
Wow.
spirits in the home. Yeah, so we got a lot of different reactions, and it almost became an obsession for me. I'll tell you honestly, I'm glad for this season to be coming because it's weighed pretty heavy on me, that
Oh, wow.
particular case.
Hmm.
Yeah, because when you go in as much as I'd gone in there, it sort of became, maybe obsession is not the right word, but you just want to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think obsession's a fair word. I mean, not in the sense where you're
Right.
emphatic about it, but
you want to figure it out. It's like, oh, I've got this idea. I can, I'll see if it's okay for me to go in there and try this. And I mean, it got to the point they were calling me by name, and we've got
Wow.
it on. Yeah, got a lot of that on recorder and
Wow.
stuff. So
That's
Be like,
heavy.
wait a
we
minute.
will be following up on
Wow.
my findings from the
So
past year.
now, how
2 months.
how do you think they got your name from your camera guy talking to you, or do you think, because how else would they know your name? Do you think they can sense
Because
your
most
name?
of the time I would introduce myself when I was in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't think
So
I'd
I
be
have
doing
a question because you did mention that season 1, a lot of it was around that house,
Mhm.
but prior to that house coming into play for season 1, you did the one about the monk.
Mhm.
How did you find that house with that tub that related to the monk? Because I mean,
Yeah. We were lucky.
once you found the tub in the house, it blew up. Like
Yeah.
there was so much activity, and obviously still there's so much material to take away from that house.
Mhm.
So how did you end up putting those together?
The homeowner of that home is connected to a friend of mine, and so well, it's kind of more of a friend of a friend.
Okay.
And so when we were looking at doing this, I was looking at different stories from the area because I was keeping it very local to the Chattanooga, Cleveland, Charleston area, and got to researching that one. And the friend of a friend came to me and said, "Hey, I know where the supposed tub is, and I'll talk to the homeowner to see if you would be able to investigate." Because my goal was originally just to investigate at the train wreck site.
Mhm.
And so it's like, oh no, this is awesome. It may or may not be the tub, but let's see. And so then as I got to finding more information out, I found out it was in an abandoned home, and which was abandoned because of a hoarding situation. The person that they had rented it out to, the homeowner had moved out, and she had rented it out to some different people, and the last person that had owned it was a hoarder, and so they had to clean that out, and they moved a few of their belongings back in there as storage, which was, one of them was the tub. And so I went and was investigating the tub, and we could not get through the entire second episode of filming it because we kept getting activity upstairs. And so that's when we moved equipment up there. we set, and I only had limited equipment that day because it was just supposed to be filming with the tub. So I took a recorder upstairs and then took a REM pod, and the entire time something would just set it off.
Now, did you know? So obviously you went to the house for the tub, but did you know ahead of time
No,
about the other activity?
no.
That was never mentioned.
I had
to
heard
you?
it was a creepy home, but yeah, no, it wasn't mentioned.
Because
and
I
so-
wondered, you had made mention that that house had sat empty without electricity for 10 to 12 years.
Mhm.
And I was just curious, like, why would you own a house but not live in it?
Like I said, it was a hoarding situation, and she had rented it out some, and then they just, because of the situation, the woman basically, the hoarder basically that was renting it just kind of went away,
Yeah.
walked away, yeah. And so it was, the home was on the state of being, almost being condemned,
Wow.
yeah.
It
And so
just
people couldn't go in it for a while.
okay, and it's just still sitting empty to this day.
Well, on the live, there was stuff in there the homeowner was looking at potentially renting it out again because they started doing renovations on it.
Do you know how pissed off I'd be to rent a house and some crazy shit like that's going on? I'd be so mad. I'd be
Yeah.
like, there's got to be a legal thing where I can get out of my lease, you know.
It's short-term
She
lease.
It'd be a
She was
short-
looking to renovate, so, and just because the house was getting in a really, really bad state.
But didn't you say that when, I believe you said on the last time that you were on the show, that if you start doing a lot of renovations or constructions around stuff, it really stirs them up and gets them all,
It can,
gets them
yes.
twisted?
It can, for sure. And that may have been part of what it was somebody coming in after so long and actually acknowledging them.
Yeah, being quiet.
Yeah.
But didn't you say somebody got bumped from out of the bathroom upstairs
The
into
homeowner.
the, yeah, the
Homeowner.
homeowner got
yeah,
with,
yeah. Because what had happened was we were getting all that activity, so we didn't know, one, if it was coming from the tub, kind of, radiating through the house, or if it was coming, and it was actually both. And
Yeah.
so I got permission from the homeowner to, see if we could record the phone call. And that's when she told me about all the stuff that was going on. And so we did that little investigation that night with what tools we had.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we came back after that and brought, a ton of equipment.
Man, I always think about if you get into that situation, biting off a little bit more than you can chew, you know what I'm saying? You go in there, you go, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake. And then all of a sudden, just like weird, super
Yeah.
weird shit go down.
That's probably the weirdest place I've ever investigated. And I don't really get creeped out, but probably one of the creepiest places I've ever done.
There was a scene in the finale, the live finale that you did, that you jumped,
Yes.
and of course Josh jumped. I think I heard him tinkle on himself a little
Yeah.
bit. And you're like, oh yeah, I think it was just maybe a mouse. I'm not sure. Did you really believe that it was maybe just a mouse?
I did, because I was sitting on the floor
Mm-hmm.
and I saw something kind of come toward me. I did think it was, but we did a live I think it was in late March, early April. We did a live there, and it was supposed to just be a 15-minute live. And it's actually been my best live, most circulated, most popular live that I've ever done. I think it's, I don't know, several thousand times it's been circulated.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's pretty crazy. What I did was I put a call out to different people, because everybody is always asking me about this house. They're asking, what the resolution is, because if it was good enough to take up 2 episodes in the season finale, it was a pretty good house. So they were trying to figure it out. So I had them send in questions, and I recorded those questions, and I actually went to the homeowner and had her ask questions, because she is an elderly lady, and she just doesn't go in there. And so we had her ask questions, and we set up 4 cameras in different areas, 4 battery powered cameras, and then put different pieces of equipment in there for the ghost to be able to manipulate. And the live turned into, I want to say, maybe a 2.5. No, it wasn't a 2.5. That was the finale. It was an 1.5 to 2 hour live that it
Damn.
turned into. And people people were really nervous and scared of things going on. I think there might have been a person or two who was a medium that was watching, and they were commenting on things they were seeing, off the chain activity and unexpected. And the minute we turned the cameras off, it just got weirder. But
Wow.
well, I say the cameras, I mean the Facebook cameras. We still had our cameras going because I still had to set some stuff up, and it was a very almost life-changing type experience. So we did capture that on film, and it was pretty crazy. I've never had, and I've talked about this on podcasts before. I've never had the floor actually vibrate and shake for no reason.
Damn.
Yeah. So
Are you going to take some of that and maybe do outtakes for season 2?
we're gonna have, yes, some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on season 2 first of all, how many episodes are there?
I believe there are 5. I believe.
So is each one, are we going to get some resolution at the end of each one, or is there going to be a cliffhanger and it's going to
Yeah,
take us into another one?
There is resolution.
At each episode will end.
I believe so.
Because I'm going to tell you, I binge watched them, and I wasn't bothered, but I was like, Jesus, I got to make it to the next one. Because you did that to me a couple times on season
that,
1.
That's
yeah.
what keeps you coming back, man.
I was coming back anyway, so don't do that to me.
But
3
she
and
didn't
4.
know that.
Yeah.
She didn't know that. That's why. That's
Good. So we'll get resolution
that's-
after
that's-
everyone. A little.
I think so.
Right.
I
So
think
your
yeah.
season, is it like a Netflix dump where it's there and it's all there to binge
That's
the day that it releases? Or is it
No,
like
no.
one episode a week?
one a week. Is going to release. The official drop is October 1st, and it's going to air every Tuesday night during the month of October, and it
Oh,
will drop
nice.
at 9 p.m. Eastern time
nice.
every Friday. So
All
I mean,
right.
I'm sorry, every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back because you had mentioned, well, obviously you're talking about the Irish guy that was on the souvenir that was brought back.
Yes.
And then you had asked about getting vibes off of people. When you are going into your place or to a place to do like your preliminary investigation, before you walk in, like before the cameras are rolling, have you ever walked into a place and at some point just had that feeling that you know somebody's there with you that's not actually there?
Oh yeah, several times. Yeah, I don't feel that every time.
Right.
I don't consider myself a medium, but sometimes medium things happen to me. I do have a few gifts that do allow me to, sense and see certain things. It's not something I really, show a lot in the episodes, but when I go in to the homes and stuff, sometimes, not always, sometimes
I think we touched on that last time you were here, and my question was, and just to rehash the question, is do you think that because of what you do and what you're into, you're more, what's the word I'm looking, subjective, susceptible to, do you think spirits can read that on you? It's like, or maybe that, maybe they mess with somebody, like, I'm probably ignorant. If there's ghosts around, we'll say my little air quotes. If there's ghosts around, they could be me on the shoulder, and I'd be.
I think different people do have different gifts and different ways of sensing those sort of things. Some people hear stuff, some people see, some people feel, and some people either they just choose to ignore it, or I had this conversation with another investigator not too long ago that I think we actually would probably experience more activity and sense more things if we just kind of listened more,
Open our
and
mind.
paid more attention.
I feel like I feel things sometimes. Like I'll walk through an area. It won't even be a dark area, but just like if I'm walking alone, I almost get that. But I'm also real fucking paranoid and don't let my back to the door when I'm eating and stuff like that. So I'm kind of psycho. But but like I'll walk around stuff, and if I'm walking down a hall, I will walk around a corner and stop and look over my shoulder to see if anybody's following me, because I feel like somebody's following me all the time. But that's my paranoia.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, mine, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a spiritual thing or if it's just sense for danger or whatever. But I mean, I will get things when we're filming. Just a few weeks ago, last week actually, we were filming in a cemetery, filming an intro. And I just had a feeling. I was talking to a friend and I was telling her, I was like, I don't know that I want to film this tonight. I just had an odd feeling. And we went and we were filming at night, just kind of went up there. It's a very, very big cemetery. And just before we got out, my recorder wasn't working right and I was kind of messing with it. And before we got out, a car pulls up and we thought it was the police coming. And they come up on us and then they kind of stop and they move on. And there's a lot of roads in that cemetery that it's on a hillside, so it kind of goes all the way around. And they start to head down the hill, and I just watched them. They went down to the end and they sat there, and I was like, something's not right about that. I looked down for a second, looked back, and they're gone. But they wouldn't have had time to have just gone. They turned their lights off.
Wow.
And they were sitting down there. I would say it was probably a drug deal was about to happen, because I made the comment that I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't feel right, about doing this. So Josh was like, I agree. If you don't feel right, we're going to go.
Right.
So we went on and we went around the corner. I said, I want to go down there where that car was to see. Sure enough, we go down there. The car is sitting there and they get ready to get out as we come through. So they were probably expecting somebody. So we went on but things like that, I will get feelings of things like that, and then I've learned.
Gotta go eat gut, right?
Listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Well, I think life is full of weird stuff. I think I know a lot of people that are coming tomorrow are planning on asking you way better questions. And I think we may have shot our question level last time when February.
I don't know. I still got a few. So
Yeah,
don't sell me short here.
But I just remember last time was just an overwhelming level of fire questions.
Oh, it was one after another. But I'm going to tell you, she fielded them all very well. I mean, it was just one after another. But let me ask you, so, there's a lot of people, obviously, that aren't in that world, your world. So let's say they're curious about it, and everybody seems to have an experience or curiosity or something, a question, and they want to reach out to somebody that they think may be in their home. Would you recommend a Ouija board, or is that something that you suggest they stay away from?
Oh, she stayed away from that.
Yeah, I would stay away from that. I don't allow anyone, if they're going to be on my show, to use that. And if I'm in
an average amateur that wants to
right
not call someone like you,
yeah,
then what do you suggest they do?
I would suggest just take a simple recorder and just kind of sit and ask questions. If they want to communicate, they don't need a board to sit there and move stuff. They can show signs, or they can put the words out there. That's what I would recommend. Or maybe like the dowsing rods like I have. That's a cheap investment. I think $19. You know, I would stay away from Ouija boards or any type of conjuring.
If you ever break that plane, though, can you go back? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things, if you ever hear a voice or you ever hear anything, I just feel like that just opens the door. You're fucked now. You're just, now you're hearing stuff. It's breaking the seal, so to speak.
Like I said, once, some things are hard to unhear.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it is tough. God. I think it's not really something to dabble in. I mean, I think if you're interested in it, learn, research and learn, and make sure you really are interested in doing it, because...
See, like me, I would find it extremely fascinating to sit down with a demonologist and talk to them, but I'm scared that if I ever did and they ever just cracked that seal on the thing, then it's like some weird shit starts going down. And then I feel like now I got sucked into that world, and sometimes it's just okay just to drive around in bliss, where you're just kind of like, life's good, no problem, blah, blah, blah.
Just be a dummy.
Just be a dummy, yeah. Just ignorant to the fact of it.
Yeah. Well, they'll still be there, even if you're oblivious to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's why it's okay to ride around oblivious, Sometimes ignorance is bliss, Well,
and that's why, like I said, there's certain things that, I don't really do. I won't participate in just a straight up seance, as far as going and deliberately trying to contact somebody's deceased relative.
But I will say this now. So in season 1, you did kind of poke the bear a little bit when you got into the tub and you
And
were
the
dressed
mop.
like, yeah. I mean, come on
that's,
now.
that's poking the bear a little bit.
That
That's a
is
little
true.
bit.
I do have my moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great scene there.
Yeah, that was like,
Yeah, 'cause-
let me just get this all over me here real quick. Yeah,
Because that seemed, I remember watching that. I was alone in
It
my
was
house.
kind of shocking.
Yeah,
Like,
I had-
startling.
I had YouTube on my TV on a big screen. It was dark late at night, and I watched it. I was like, "What the hell? No way!" To me, that seemed a little over the top. Agreed?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. That was, well, that was the point.
Well, she
you know.
said she was going to be her own
Yeah, be my own trigger object.
trigger
Yeah.
object.
Yeah.
And I try a lot of, you have to improvise a lot
Yeah.
in these places. Most of the places don't have power.
Mhm.
And, so that's why we did the smoke bomb.
Mhm.
And, you just never know what's going to set something off. Like, the wine or doing, taking, cigarettes to a prison or whatever, or dressing up as a monk and getting in a tub where he was skinned. You just never know.
Well, I kind of asked this question a while ago, but at least in my head I did, is if you ever walked into a place and it's almost like you weren't expecting to do any kind of paranormal stuff in there, but like you walk in there and you're kind of looking around like, okay, some weird shit's going on. It's almost like you're the only one that's not oblivious, and so the spirit ghost whatever is going, finally, hey,
Well, we investigated, when I was a member of a team, we investigated a church.
uh-huh.
And I had that feeling, that bum rushed feeling.
Yeah.
There was something really dark downstairs,
Mhm.
but up in the sanctuary, it was just like, hey, come talk to me,
Yeah.
And I had a kid that was talking to me. I had a Civil War soldier talking to me. I had an old lady talking to me.
Right.
And it was,
Fine, I've been talking to these knuckleheads for
Yeah.
centuries.
yeah. And so it
Find
was
some fresh blood.
pretty crazy.
But you said something dark downstairs, so.
That was why we had been called in, there was something kind of
How
odd.
often do you run into that? Something dark or something that's dark enough for you to
Label it as
call
dark?
your buddy?
I'm not quick to label something demonic. I think, you watch Ghost Adventures or some of these paranormal entertainment shows, and it's always demonic.
Oh.
I think it's for entertainment purposes a lot of the time. The old saying is, you go looking for something, don't be surprised when you find it.
Right.
So I go in, I try to go in, if you go in with a negative mindset, if you're stressed, if you don't go in just level-headed and clear, it can really mess with you, So I try to get centered and be, level-headed, and not go in actually looking for something negative. We have had stuff happen. We have gone to places where it is rumored. Most of the time, a lot of the stuff is just aggressive. And it's just really trying to get your attention. It's like
Right.
It's like the kid that does mean stuff. They're really not a bad kid. They're just trying to get attention.
They're just frustrated and want your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be kind of funny to go into a place and find a happy ghost. He's just out,
We've experienced that too.
just having a good old
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Perverted ghost. I mean,
That'd be old Dave here to
Slip a little finger.
pull your skirt up. You gotta wear the right clothes in these situations.
exactly.
A little slap on the bottom as you go by.
So let me tell you, one of the first things I noticed when I watched the trailer, and everyone will see it tonight, is the music is so cool in it. The sound effects, the music, and all that. Tell us a little bit about that. Who did it? Who came up with it? Was that you? Was it a collaboration, or what was the story?
No, Josh and I picked the music, and he, I told him what I wanted in the trailer as far as certain specific things, and he put it together and made this beautiful, exciting piece that we're about to release.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, he didn't make it tonight, but I'll
Yeah.
tell you, the guy did a bang up job on it.
He did, yeah.
So-
He was going to join us tonight, and he had a family emergency come up, so he is not going to be here at the podcast or tomorrow at the event. But yeah, he did a heck of a job on it. Like I said, we work very, very close together, he and I, and I'm always sitting with him even in the editing process of it. But we filmed these. There's a few scenes on there, obviously, that's from the season, and then some that we filmed specifically for the trailer. And he's just a master when it comes to seeing things. And the thing I actually love that if you watch really carefully, he has a music background, and so things moving are on beat. If something pops, he'll get that scene lined up to where my hair, if I'm flipping my hair, it pops on the beat.
No, that's cool.
And yeah, you'll notice that a lot in his stuff. He's very meticulous with it.
Well, while we're doing this, you want to take a chance and look at this, or you got another question before we?
Well, I have one more, but my question is, and this is a universal question from the people of Alabama, that if there is a season 3, we would ask that you do one investigation in the state.
Absolutely.
All right.
There is a lot in the set. Absolutely.
Good. Perfect.
What we need to do is set up a tablet, piece of pen and paper next to, for tomorrow. And anywhere that they think of, tell them to write it down, where it is, maybe just a little snippet of it. Then you can go back and you can and do a little digging and figure out which one's the best for you.
And being a biker, what's really cool, and I've got lots of ideas for either specific seasons or kind of off-season stuff that can be anything from, a motorcycle tour of several different locations in Alabama or wherever, to just, hitting specific places that people have requested, So yeah, I'd love that idea.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, what we'll do, we're going to, because of the software we use and everything, it's kind of glitchy. But what we're going to do is we're going to play this so that we can all ooh and ah and smile about it. But what we'll do after that is we'll upload the video to our YouTube page as well, to coincide with this, that's going up tonight. So while we got a chance here, I know you don't have headphones on, young lady. We should have got you these right here, but we're going to go. We have an extra person hiding in the background. She's our own ghost. So let's give this little thing.
Is that music playing and recording through the podcast as well? Okay. Man, that gets better every time I watch it.
Hello? Is there anybody here? We're back.
Season premiere, October 1st, 2019.
Was that a child's casket that I saw?
That's what I was going to ask.
Maybe.
That's
I mean-
totally what that looked like.
But it was just far enough off that you couldn't really
That's
tell.
exactly what I was thinking. And that's super creepy. I don't know why kids are so creepy to me, but they
Yeah.
are.
Well, I think it's because it's such an unfinished thing when a kid passes away that you look at an elderly person, male, female, whatever, it's like, okay, they passed away, they're 85. It's like, well, that's a pretty damn good run, or 90. I mean, you get some of them, there was an article in page, the guy was 98 years old, man. That was, because me personally, I'm trying to hit triple digits. I want to hit the 100. If I can hit the 100 with sound mind, I'm sure the body won't be sound, but if the mind's sound, and I just think hitting 100, big hundo would be awesome.
Yeah.
And so, but when you look at that person, you think, they accomplished, they had to accomplish something being around that long. But you get a small child,
Well, it's usually tragic.
yeah, it's usually tragic.
With an elderly person, or even a middle-aged person. It could be some kind of natural causes, but usually with a child, it's usually pretty tragic.
Yeah, there was somebody posted a thing on social media where a little girl was consoling her brother, and he's bald. He's going through child cancer, and it was just an ominous scene, and he's like little. I mean, his waist is like at the level of the toilet, so that's just so I think that's the weird creepiness of a child going. So it's just yeah. So
Well,
we
and
look
it's
forward to
weird
that.
because when, I look at my demographics a lot of who's watching what and how reactions are to different things. And one thing I always noticed was as a paranormal investigator, you get a child, it's actually, I don't want to say it's cool, but, because most people don't have children with them, so it's hard to debunk that, when you get a child's voice or a childlike activity. But the audience seems to react a lot different when it's a child. They're very polarized. They're either just very interested or they're almost angry. And, they're either wanting you to cross the child over, which again is something I don't do, or they're just very angry and upset.
Oh, like our
about it.
regular people are mad at you for
Yeah.
not dealing with the child the way they think you should be dealt with?
I
Or,
guess I'm not really sure.
but you don't feel like you have major control over the situation. I mean, you're just you're almost a fact finder, if you will. I mean, I hate to simplify it down to that, but you're just trying to get something and share what you're getting, and you're not trying to manipulate the situation in any way as far as bringing somebody to this side or pushing
Right.
somebody to the other side. You're just kind of like, well, this is what I feel, sense, or hear,
Exactly.
or see. I mean, it's funny how the reactions that you get from people, no matter what you're doing, whether it's paranormal stuff or whatever you're into, it's funny that people instantly try to control you for not controlling the situation.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm just here. I mean, I'm not trying to,
And of course,
force
if you're going to
anything.
put it out there, you've got to be prepared for the good as well as the
The
bad.
bad.
If you're going to put it out
What do
there.
you think your demographic is mostly?
I know it's 3 parts, of course. Which I'm hitting something that a lot of paranormal investigators aren't, with hitting the biker community.
Sure.
There's mine are paranormal investigators, bikers, and history buffs are mine. But I get a lot of people with mine, and a lot of it comes from my photography and where I would travel and tell stories with the photography and not just the paranormal. A lot of mine are people who, up in the upper Appalachian region, that they either are of a sort of an invalid type status that just can't get out for whatever reason, or situationally they can't get out, or maybe for health reasons. So they don't travel to the locations a lot. A lot of mine are people, I don't know what the word would be, not really shut-ins, but
A captive audience,
yeah,
almost.
yeah.
Well, it's funny that you brought up,
Going
motorcycles.
places they might not normally go.
Yeah, it's funny that we buried a guy today. His name is Alan Baker, and he was a motorcycle guy. He was big, and I think we had close to 50 motorcycles in the procession today,
Okay.
taking him to the thing. But it's one of those things. I'm sure a lot of his guys, there's a couple that listen to the show, so that they'll probably find a lot of that interesting. The tie-in of because it's like everything else. And we talked about this last time. The mind is a powerful thing, and sometimes you'll wish for things a lot more than it may. It's not really there, but mentally or subconsciously, you'll wish that you get some kind of nod or nudge from
Yeah, and that's a
somebody.
theory of creating your own haunting.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a theory and it is possible. I think, people wonder about that with the rods. Could you subconsciously be moving the rods,
Hmm.
or subconsciously be doing something or willing it to happen?
Willing it.
Yeah.
Do
Well,
you?
I think that's what we went through that last time you
Yeah.
were here.
Yeah.
You had a couple skeptics here. The flashlights, the rods, and all that. We did it ourselves,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna tell you, the flashlights were legit.
Yeah.
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 And I got some backlash. I'm glad you brought that up. I got some backlash from this guy about the flashlights. Because my whole big thing was, my skeptics, and we kept our mouth shut until you were here and let you do your thing, was that if it was freaking push buttons, I was going to call bullshit that somebody was behind the little dart thing hitting the thing. But the fact that it was twist
Yeah.
is what got me.
Yeah.
And there's this guy I know, and he was like, horse shit. He goes, you can turn those things just to a point, and a little vibration will make them go off. He was just all in. And I'm like, look, man, all I know is it's twist. I took the damn thing apart. I didn't see nothing monkeying
Well,
or
what's
looking.
crazy is I've had it work with both. I've had it work with push button and with the twist.
Really?
Yes, and I've had it work on laser grids, which are not used for that purpose. They're used to catch shadow figures walking through. But if they want to communicate and you've got something there that they can manipulate, they're gonna do it. But it's cool that's done it with both, actually.
Well,
Yeah.
the biggest thing I got from our show that there's two people that actually mentioned it. They says, what the hell's going on? Remember when the pot went off in the middle of the damn thing? We set the pot down and it's all making crazy. And it's like, we thought it was the mics. Mics weren't setting it off, and we're getting our hands on it. So why don't we just go ahead and turn that off? Yeah, I think you said it. And guy goes, I'd been the fuck out of there, man. That was it. He goes, as soon as that thing started going nuts, I'm on.
See, I should have set up my flashlights in here while we're doing the interview
man.
and just
Like
see
I
if they
said, don't be
just...
bringing no shit in my house.
We could have done it over candlelight the whole
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
dim the
Oh,
lights down.
damn, why didn't we think about that before this one
Yeah.
started?
Yeah.
Probably got a shitty picture. But no, you can't bring nothing in my house unless
Yeah.
they paying rent or cleaning house.
Yeah.
So that's
Let me
sketchy.
ask you, what kind of, and I asked this question because we have a podcast. Do you get a lot of comments on your YouTube or whatever? And what kind of comments is it? Is it comments of skepticism, of support? Is it people that are reaching out with their own sets of questions, or haters, or what are you getting?
I've been very fortunate. I've had very few haters. I mean, very, very few. I couldn't even count them on one hand. I mean, either they're just being nice and not saying anything at all. I mean, I know that's out there. A lot of support, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm an introvert, and I was very nervous about putting this out, and almost didn't even do it, because it is such a tough community, and it's a tough thing to do, even just getting in front of the camera and putting yourself out there. I'm in a professional job. I didn't want people to think I was crazy or, those sort of things. And, but then you just have to just throw caution to the wind. And if it's something you enjoy doing and are passionate about, put it out there. But everyone has been really supportive, and I've met the best part is I've met a lot of really awesome people from it.
Well, I think you're putting out a good product, and I think that is the best thing that you can do, because if you put out stuff where it's like, she's just being quacky, you know what I'm saying, I think you'd probably get a lot more, even in your own personal circles. You get along, what are you doing? Yeah, but you're putting out a good product.
Well,
I
thank
mean,
you.
and as we saw with the trailer, and as everybody's going to see when we put this up tonight, that I think that curves a lot of that.
It does, and and honestly, I welcome skepticism. I really enjoy it. And that's part of what I really enjoyed about our podcast is, you all were skeptic, and but you approached it in a respectful and inquisitive way. You know, some people are just mean, and problem is some people are just assholes, and there's
Yeah.
no real cure for that.
Sure,
That's just
sure.
what they are.
Yeah.
But if someone
I need a
approaches
demonologist.
exactly, if someone approaches it in that kind of manner, and you know, what I always say when I put stuff out is, I'm not here to convince somebody. I'm going to go in, document, and then you decide what you want to believe. If you can debunk what I'm doing or have a logical explanation, because when I put something out, I'm not going to say it's paranormal most of the time. Most of the time I'm going to say this is unexplainable to me. Now, I'm not the smartest person out there. You know, someone can go and maybe find the answer to it, and I welcome that, as long as it's, but then also, you know, if somebody doesn't agree with the way I do something or what I do, because again, in this community, there are a lot of opinions. You know, there are also 1,000 other investigators out there. If someone doesn't like it, I often say, change the channel. You'll find someone that you enjoy. Yeah.
Well, I know that my mother's going to be there tomorrow, and you've already won her over because she's into some weird shit herself, and so she's all excited about coming. So she'll probably wear you out, you know, a little bit, and
Bring it.
So
I'm gonna get a good night's sleep,
yeah,
and I'm looking forward to it.
she's gonna ask you tons of questions. We need to get your mom
I
down
hope
there.
people do. I really
It's gonna be
do.
a hard sell.
You know, my favorite things are when people do submit questions or submit locations or come up and talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Or tell you some story of
yeah,
something.
I
that
love that. You know, just sitting and I'm a big listener, and so
Mm-hmm.
sitting and just listening to people tell the stories and just interacting, you know, I love that. And so, you know, if I hope people do come out tomorrow and challenge me and, you know, just, you know, fill my ears full of whatever they want to, you know, talk about.
Well, I think one of the things that gives you credibility, at least in my eyes, is in episode 1, there was the portion where you were by the window and the guy walks by. You know, and I remember watching. I go, Jesus, there's a ghost, and you go, no, actually, that was just a guy walking by. And I was like, oh, well.
That is a huge credibility.
Because if anybody else would have said, yeah, it was a ghost, and you said no, it was legitimately just some guy walking by. Whereas a lot of people would take any opportunity they had to try and gain credibility.
Yeah.
But you call it for what it is,
Yeah.
and to me, that goes a long ways.
Well, thank you.
You know.
Well,
That-
and you
that
do
means
that.
a
You
lot.
do that a lot.
Yeah.
I noticed, like, you know, you've had the rods out before, using those, and you're like, oh, they crossed, but that was just me adjusting.
Yeah.
You know, and then Josh has gotten too close to the little screeny
Yep.
thing, and he's like, no, it's just me. It's just me. I bumped it. So y'all do
Yeah.
call it out.
We try to do that, and you know, honestly, one of my favorite things are when I do lives, you know, and go to these locations, because you never know what you're going to get. And when I did the season finale as a live, I was really excited about it, but really scared too, you know, because one, I'm sitting in a tub in a monk's costume, and I don't know what's going to happen. But
That would
two,
be a shit time to figure out that dude was not happy about you
I
doing
have a
it.
question about that though.
Yeah.
Because so Josh, you were obviously, you know, you being in the tub, that was staged, that was set up. You
Yes.
were there waiting. You knew that Josh was coming down. But when Josh came down, I don't think he even made it down the steps good or down into the basement. And those lights were just going
Yeah.
crazy. Were they going crazy when you were in there by yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
I was sitting there seeing the wall, because I had the hood down, and I could see the light behind me on the wall flashing, and
Just
I
going
was sitting there
nuts.
thinking,
That was that dude telling you to get the fuck out of his tub.
yeah,
Yeah,
He
'cause
was
you
not
asked
happy
him,
about
you,
that
you
shit.
don't like me in your tub? And it was like,
yeah, and that's what in that house it liked to be behind me, you know. And I don't know if the theory was because at that time, you know, monks, they wouldn't stand in front of a woman. And,
Really?
I didn't know
if
Did we
that.
it
discuss
was-
that?
I've never
I
heard that.
can't remember if we discussed that last time.
At that time, it was kind of
Yeah.
a gender thing,
Huh.
and they may even still be that way. You know,
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that was that or if it was just another spirit that was, you know, kind of sneaking up on me.
I always
If it
feel like
was actually the monk, you know.
many times I feel like somebody's standing behind me, but again, I'm paranoid, so I just like, who knows?
Yeah. Well, you know, what I was going to say about those lives is the fact that I've been on several different lives where thing, nothing has happened. I did one down in Mount Dora, Florida, over actually on 4th of July. I was investigating the Lakeside Inn and went live and thought, we'll see what happens, and told people I knew the history on the location. Nothing really happened. Now I set cameras up overnight. We may have got something on the cameras, but that's just how it is. And I like that. Sometimes, I mean, it may not make for an interesting watch, but we still had a lot of people tune in just to see, because it is creepy, just a person sitting in a room by themselves, thinking that something could happen. But I think it shows a realness that, maybe it will, maybe it won't. It gives me a chance to interact with people, and then also to show that sometimes it's not the most interesting. Sometimes there's a lot. If I'm there for 6 hours, 4 of those hours, 5 of them even, maybe just sitting there with nothing happening.
Right.
And then you may get this dynamic 1 hour that's
Sure.
just off the charts. But
Well, yeah, there's no way. I mean, it's not the movie Poltergeist where people are going through the damn TV screens yanking you out. I mean, it's not like it's just things going on all the time.
the Sunset Hill House is like that.
Is it? No joke.
Yes, no
What
joke.
was that little? I think we discussed that. What was the little short lady on Poltergeist? I think you told me she was a real medium or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name either.
Yeah.
But that
Carrie Ann.
that's
Yeah.
one of those houses. A lot of the time, if you get a camera out, if you go live, I've got a friend. We make a joke often that she and I will go investigate sometimes, and she's like, we'll separate, because I remember we were at the Bel Air house.
Y'all
in
never
Ohio.
watched Scooby Doo growing up, did you?
Yeah.
Well, we were at the
Never
Bel Air
watched
house in
Scooby-Doo.
Ohio, and it's a 3-level house. And
Yeah.
so we kept hearing something heavy walking upstairs, and it was just me and this other girl. And so I'm like, I'm going to go upstairs, and I put heavy boots on, and I thought, I'm going to walk upstairs. We got on our walkie-talkies, and I was like, okay, I want to see if this is coming from the floor above or from the attic. So I go walking there on the floor above, and she's walking me. Of course, as soon as I walked away, she was like, I'm going to get my camera out, because nothing ever happens whenever you got your camera out. So she's sitting there with her camera out so that nothing is affecting her. And I'm sitting there on my walkie. I walk across the top, and she's like, nope, you got to go on up to the attic. So I go on up to the 3rd floor, which is where Nick Groff and the lady that was in Paranormal Lockdown, where she wanted to jump out the window. I go up and that was a freaky area. I go up to that level, and I start walking, and so instantly she's walking me, saying, that's the level, that's where we hear it walking. And so it was just, I'm standing up there, and I felt so uneasy and so uncomfortable. Something had pushed someone down those stairs as well. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to you the whole time I'm walking back, and so we were talking on the walkies the whole time. And there's just something about that when she said, I'm hearing, that's where we're hearing it from, is on that 3rd level. That just made you just so uncomfortable. So some things won't happen whenever you're on camera, and other things, like the Sunset Hill House, wants the attention.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think that sometimes that if they think they almost want to be one-on-one with you in a sense,
Sometimes, yes.
to where they don't want anybody else seeing what they're thinking? Do you
Yeah.
think that would be more of a sinister kind of situation versus maybe a happy-go-lucky
could
person
be.
wanting to, hey, look at me, everybody.
There were people that was watching the live where that last one that I was talking about, not in Mount Dora, but the one at the Sunset Hill House. You could tell it was trying to distract us and trying to separate us. And people were on the live saying, do not separate, do not. And
What do you think would happen?
I don't know.
Possession, maybe?
Do you think one of them would knock you down the stairs or something?
I mean, it's possible.
Right.
Anything is possible. I know I was joking. I was squatted down at the doorway going down the stairs, and I was like, I was fixing some kind of equipment, and I was like, please don't push me down the stairs. And Josh had the camera, and he's like, well, if you're going to push, you need to push her now while we got the camera out. So it's like, well, this is the best time to do it.
Yeah.
But,
What is your biggest fear? What is your biggest physical fear?
physical fear?
Like getting pushed down something getting thrown at you.
No, I mean, I've I've had some crazy stuff happen. I've been
Well, we looked at the pictures last time.
Yeah, I've had some odd and crazy stuff. Personally, I think I would be more nervous about some type of possession. I think that makes me more nervous. I take steps to try to prevent that, and
Are you willing to tell us what those steps are, or is that a common thing, or is there something else that
different people do different things, and different people have different belief on.
So if me and Dave go with you, right?
I need to know the steps.
We need to know the steps.
Sure.
So I mean, I got a plate carrier downstairs, a flat jacket, anything that we need to,
they're
helmet.
coming.
They're
body
coming.
armor.
Coming through
Say
that.
that it's religion, because if you look
Yeah.
at the logo, there's actually a cross in her logo. In the GB.
Good eye.
What?
You're
I gotta
right
look
on.
at that again.
Yeah. Well, that's your.
Well, yeah, the on the sleeve, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was actually kind of I designed the logos and everything, and the GB it is a cross for religion, but then it's also a play that also tombstones. A lot of them are that thick cross, like that. So very good eye.
Huh.
I'm glad
Damn good eye.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that was put there for that.
She's
reason.
got her moments.
Yeah.
She does odd
I've
every
spent a
now
lot
and
of
then.
time wearing her shirt.
Yeah.
I like that shirt. I actually have two of them.
Yeah.
Because she gave me one last time she was here, and I thought I messed it up. And I was so upset that I called her and ordered one that night.
Yeah.
And then I washed it, and it came out. So I've got
Yeah.
two.
So
So,
she's
I'm,
got two.
I'm
There you
always
go.
wearing a Ghost Biker shirt.
Nice. So let me ask you. So speaking of a physical concern, do you not ever worry about if a girlfriend says, "Hey, I hear footsteps on the third floor," do you not worry about coming across a homeless person, a drug deal, or whatever? To me, that would be a huge concern.
Yeah, that's
That's where the gun
truthfully.
comes into play.
Yeah, that truthfully is what scares me the most.
Yeah.
About all of it.
And how often do you run into that?
Well, there's been several situations. One specific place was a hospital. We witnessed a drug deal going down in the parking lot.
And they approach you? Have you
No.
had to pull your gun out?
I have not, but I do always have my gun with me. I've had. I was just down in Florida for 10 days back in July and investigated at a prison or a jail, a community jail or county jail, and they actually asked if we had our concealed carry, and they recommended because it was in a very, very bad area, and we actually had different activity. I always do have my gun on me if I'm in a state that allows me to carry, because I have my concealed carry, and usually I have multiple guns on me actually.
There you go.
But
For you idiots out there, just be ready.
that's right. Where there's one, there's always two.
That's right.
But yeah, so we had the activity kind of change because they thought we were potentially, I'm assuming, police officers. They were very just like they were challenging of us, like, you're going to ask us to interact, is
Which
how
would
they were
make
kinda
sense for a
acting.
jail.
Exactly. And so the thought occurred to me, it's like, we've both, myself and the other lady, had our guns on us. And so it's like, why don't we go put the guns in a different location? And we acknowledged that. And then in another place, I was in a gangster, it was a place where a gangster shootout had happened.
Nice.
And yes. And so I actually used the gun as a trigger item. And
Nice.
yeah, really actually changed. They had a lot of really cool responses. So yeah, I've had, like I said, we had a drug deal. There was an OD it was kind of like a Section 8 type housing situation. We have had people come up on us, ask what we're doing. Yeah,
But you've never been
surprised.
well, I was going to say approached in an aggressive manner.
No.
That's
Thankfully,
good.
no.
Yeah.
When we saw the drug deal go down, we were actually in a hospital in the psych ward, and I was with the team at that time, and we had brought a bunch of people. We brought like 30 people, so
Holy
we had
shit.
split off,
Yeah.
into groups of 6, I believe.
Yeah, they didn't want to dick with you anyway. They were
No.
probably like, "Oh, let's get out of here. We're gonna get
We
busted."
were in one of the crazy ladies' rooms, and we just happened to see something going down, so we watched it, and then myself and the team leader, we actually we kind of went off to the side there, and because they were kind of driving around, and because we both had our guns with us, and we went to the side and was kind of watching to make sure they didn't come up and mess with anyone.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, and I know this might be a little controversial, but have you ever been to a site where a natural disaster happened? So naturally, a lot of people would have passed in that area, whether it be tornado, hurricane, or whatever.
Flood.
Yeah, just have you ever?
I've been to those areas
And done
but
an
I've
investigation?
not ever done an investigation. No.
Huh.
I'm trying to think just to make sure. No, not as far as a natural disaster. That's actually interesting.
What is one of your biggest goals as far as not a place, or even if you have a place, don't tell where it is, but what type of investigation is like, this is what if I'm doing this is what I've got to do. I've got to pull one of these off. You know, obviously you've done prisons, you've done cemeteries. Is there anything, if it's somewhere famous, don't mention it. Just
No.
but is there anything that's on your bucket list, if you will, to investigate? Boy, they're a curveball.
Yeah, that's tough.
That is tough.
That is very tough.
I'm good for one every now and then.
I've always wanted to either do something kind of like it's kind of bizarre, but either in like some kind of cave where some stuff had happened, or well, this is mentioned in a famous place, but like either where like a plane crash might have happened in the mountains, or where maybe a group of I like a lot of different extreme sports, like mountain climbers, how a lot of them will perish,
Sure.
those sort of things.
What
in
about
those areas.
ships?
Now that would be very cool.
I think about the SS, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's moored in San Diego, I believe, and they've had a lot of ghost activities. I remember them doing shows on it way back, almost in the late 80s.
Is that the Queen Mary?
The Queen Mary, there we
Yes.
go.
Actually, I met a guy who filmed the very first Queen Mary paranormal investigation in the 80s. And it's on VHS.
Yeah.
But they used apparently a lot of the tools that us paranormal investigators use today.
Yeah.
That's just kind of old school.
Old school, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
watching stuff a long time ago, and I remember
I love it.
apparently that place has tons of activity.
Yes.
There's an escalator where, they dramatized, obviously, the
Yeah.
filming that they showed, but because it was showed on regular TV, it's almost like Unsolved Mysteries or something, one of
Now,
those.
see, that creeps me out. Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved Mysteries is an awesome show.
Oh, I love that show.
It's
It's
an
one of my
awesome show.
favorites. But
She's like, this was before she was born, so.
I know Unsolved Mysteries.
I like to give her a hard time. But there was one and it might have been on Unsolved Mysteries, but something to that effect. But like, girl was riding the escalator up, and then she felt something. She turned around. There's a guy that looks like a maintenance guy right behind her, and she's like, okay, that's weird. It's late at night. And she turns back around, and she turns back, and he's gone. That kind of shit.
yeah.
See, that would have my feet on fire, because I'd be moving. I'd be like, there's no way that just happened. And then they'd see people in the passageways way down. And as they get closer to them, then the people would disappear. And they're looking that way, which would be extremely crazy, too. So,
Yeah,
so
I
a
think
ship would
plane
be
crashes. Yeah, ship. For me, I think plane crashes too is one of those things where, because there's so much energy and emotion as it's happening.
You need to go to the Buddy Holly plane crash site?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You can go out there.
Yeah. Well, that kind of goes along with a natural disaster thing
It
almost.
does.
I mean, hell, you
does.
think about dying in a tornado or a hurricane, which, we get all those here. I mean, and they could easily wipe out 100, 1,000 people,
Yeah.
And I would think you would just get tremendous activity
Yeah.
if you were to hit one of those sites.
Yeah, I would think so. I hadn't really actually thought of that. That's a really cool idea. Yeah.
Well,
So
it's hurricane season.
hurricane
So-
season, be ready. What is there a gestation period on ghosts? Is how long they gotta be dead before the ghost part kicks in?
It can be pretty instant.
Pretty instant.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if there was like a marinating process that they have to feel lost for a hot minute before they
Not
can.
when this one walks up and she shows up. It's chatting time.
It's
That's
chatting
right.
time.
That's right.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, look forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. I know you guys have traveled today and probably tired as all get out. I know I've been up since early, but for everybody listening to this, we're going to get this up from at Club South. It's going to be from 1 to 4. We got a lot of great people down. We've got John McAvica, one of our big sponsors. He's going to be down. He's going to be raffling off an Xbox. We got Gentown Cycles. Luke is the owner. He's going to be down there. He's going to be, meet and greeting as well. He's going to be giving away.
He's giving away an oil change kit for a Harley.
Harley, or a $50
I think
thing.
so.
One of the two. If you don't have a Harley, he'll give you a money card or something. We got Stay Gold Tattoo. They're going to be down there. They're going to be giving away
$100 gift certificate.
$100 gift certificate. So you need some new ink. You need a little ghost biker tattoo on your shoulder,
right.
get that thing and get a little 2-for-1 right there. Get her logo and then turn it over to those guys and get you a tattoo. Of course, we're going to be there. I'll be giving away shirts. We're going to give you some shirts and use some shirts before we leave here.
Thank you.
We're the Lita's motorcycle crew. They're not giving anything away, but they're going to come down and support you. Another female biker
Nice.
to the thing.
I can't wait to meet 'em.
So it should be a good time, and it might be one of those situations I think that you mentioned on the last show of. Obviously, they like to get together and do some rides, and if they're interested in and they find what you got really good, bunch of you ladies can saddle up and go and do a ghost/bike
That
ride.
would be awesome.
I think that would be a really good thing.
Yeah.
Amber's participated in other, ladies' bike things and, events in the past. It might be one of those yearly things y'all could get together and do a little, maybe not a full-on investigation like you do, but maybe like a little ghost sightseeing,
Hey, I think
thing.
we can make that happen.
That would be a good
I
thing to
think
get
that
the
would-
get the
Because
ladies
that's
in.
some of the stuff that I'm wanting to cover, because some of my dream locations are, hitting like either the Mississippi Blues Highway,
Yeah.
and hitting some of these really cool historical and supposed haunted places, or just there's a lot of rides that goes by these really cool places.
So we need to start putting our brains together and making that happen for you. And these ladies might be the perfect ones to talk to. And of course, and absolutely not last, but definitely not least, Ghost Train is going to be
They'll be
putting.
there giving away swag, doing a tap takeover.
Yeah.
And we're also going to have Colbert's Cajun food truck.
Yes, I
there.
almost
Very
forgot
nice.
about him. So everybody likes Cajun food. If you don't like Cajun food, something's wrong with you, right?
And I'm going to be giving a few things away
Okay,
as well. Yeah,
excellent.
I've brought merch, that's for sale, but I'm also an artist, and so I've got a couple drawings that I've done.
I have seen a couple of your drawings.
That I intend. I've got some for sale, but I intend to. I've got going to do some drawings tomorrow. If people will go on and like my Facebook page and show me that they've liked it, like and follow,
Yeah.
that will put them in for the drawing.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and so
We need to get that down on something too for you.
Yeah.
man.
yeah.
But I'm a firm believer we got to put you a notepad next to your stuff and let people write down whatever
Yes.
their thing. Give you a little inspiration, maybe a little
I love
content,
it.
little thing. I always like it when people give me a little content for the show.
Yes.
Kind of makes life interesting, and it helps them be a part of you. It lets them feel like they're
Absolutely.
connecting with you.
Absolutely.
If you want to go ahead and call out your Instagram and your Facebook page.
Sure. Yeah, we've got multiple ways that people can find us. It's so I'm the most active on Facebook, but it's under Ghost Biker Explorations. My YouTube channel, Ghost Biker Explorations as well. Active on Instagram under Runaway Vixen, and kind of active on Twitter, but I have Yeah.
I'm horrible with Twitter.
I know. Twitter
Horrible.
is. Yeah, that's the bastard child. I just.
Yeah.
I need. Yeah, I
Yeah,
need.
and supposedly it's a really great way to interact, but I just
It's too much.
it's too much.
It's too much.
And I'm also on LinkedIn with
Oh, okay.
Ghost Biker Explorations.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to work
so
on my LinkedIn page, by the way. It's
Yeah.
looking a little. It's a little rough.
Trying to take the subculture to
There you
the
go.
mainstream
There you
professional
go. You
level.
never know.
You never know. A lot of filmmakers, producers, and such
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
And so that's the best place that folks can find me. Like I said, I'm the most active on Facebook, always doing lives. And but yeah, season 2 will drop then on October 1st, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And it will be placed there on YouTube, Facebook, and also I must mention my website, www.ghostbikerexplorations.com, and the episodes are all on there, and all the podcasts that I've done there's a link to all of those, as well as
We're number 1, right?
that's right,
That's right.
that's right, that's
We're right
right.
there on the front page, right?
That's right.
Sure.
As well as appearances and then places where they can order Ghost Biker merch.
Cool.
Excellent. Which looks good, by the way. I
Thank
do
you.
like your merchandise. I think it looks good.
Thank you.
It's, sort of like what we've done.
Yeah.
We've got some new shirts and things out.
like
And
the shirts.
I just like clean design, nothing too,
Yeah.
dizzy. But
We still got your hats. You gave us a couple
Yeah.
hats
yeah,
last time.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wear it.
Thank you.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna roll this thing out, and we look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. All right, you want to hit me out? one more
Yep.
time?
Here we go.